Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of Monopoly Knockout from Hasbro. This is a Monopoly themed game wherein you are trying to slide your tokens along a track to earn points by landing on properties and knocking other people off their properties. Let's get into it. What comes in a box of Monopoly Knockout? I'm glad you asked. You get the basically four-page rule set. Very easy. You get the main board with which you'll be doing your shuffling. You'll start here and you'll flick your disc, one of these four colored discs. Everyone gets four. You'll notice they're very much in the frame of the original Monopoly pieces, the top hat, the car, etc. I added these cubes because when I was playing with kids, sometimes they forgot their color, and there's nothing that helps you remember which color you were, because order changes around a lot. You've got your turn order track, you've got your standard classic money, $150 increments, your jail card, and that's really it. That's all that comes in it. Let's get into how you play. Okay, the object of the game is to win, and you win by scoring victorious monetary points in the form of money. That's right, money. On your turn, every player is going to, in turn order, you'll start off, pick however you want. Red, blue, yellow, and green. Red, blue, yellow, and green. And the turn order will change. You're going to play as many rounds as there are people, and the first thing to do is take your token and try to land on one of these spots. Each of these spots will give you money if you successfully have your pawn on it at the end of the round. If you can get your tokens to land on a set of properties, you're going to get an additional bonus here. There's also your standard luxury tax. If you land here, then you have to pay rent. You have to pay an additional tax for each property that you get cash for. If you're on the railroad, then you can basically move it to any property you want at the end of the round. You've got your regular properties. Chance lets you, when everyone's done moving their tokens, if you have any on chance, you can re-roll those. Reflick those one more time. Up here you have the prime properties we all know and love, and the go to jail next to it, sort of like little trenches, little alligators around the castle of financial goodness. And then free parking, which if you land on and have the most tokens on at the end of the round, you will get money. Let's get into it. Red starts first, and red says, I'm going to keep it safe and try for Tennessee. Now that's great. At the end of the round, I'm going to get 200, right? Well, maybe not. Blue might say, you know what? I'm going to try for that, and I'm going to knock you over into luxury tax because I'm blue. What? All right, I, on the other hand, am going to try to go over to chance. Okay, well, that's not bad. And then green is going to say, go to jail. Wait. Here's the tricky part here. Whatever your token has the most of, it gets tricky. But right now, there's not enough on Pennsylvania and too much on go to jail, so jail we go. Now, jail's interesting because if you go to jail, you can pay $100 to get out and re-slide it again. So you can, but right now we don't have any money, so you're in jail, pal. All right, and then we go. I'm just gonna flick these suckers. Oh yes. Look at this. Whoosh. And then blue. Here, I'll do that. Let's just, I'm doing better than I've done in the past. All right, then the final one. Look at that. Look at how great that's going. All right, so we're done. Yay, look at that. We've had quite the battle, haven't we? Then we go down and we go through each of these. If you have anything on chance, say I have this on chance, this is your chance, to go back and actually try for something. Like, look at here, I've got 2 of these on properties. If I can hit James Place, then I've got all 3 of these properties, 2, 4, 6, and $1,200. That's $1,800. $1,800, people. Again, on luxury tax, I would get, and this is the thing, if you've got multiple tokens on a property, it goes in order. So if you're up here, if you're in first place on a round, that is your round to try to make the most of it. So green would get nothing. You would get 250 as the red player, 250, 500, and free parking, which will We'll do that again, but yes, but luxury tax. So you got to pay $100 to free parking, which you're gonna see, that kind of works out because you're free parking. You're gonna get all your money anyway. So, and that's how that works. And again, like go to jail. These all should have gone to jail. But in a later round, if you had, say, yellow was in jail here, you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna pay $100 and I'm gonna roll again and keep going. And that's it. It's simple. It's really, really simple. You just go down, you go resolve each of the round orders, then you flip it. Red goes on the bottom, everyone else goes on the top, and there you go. And then you do it again. You do 4 rounds. Whoever has the most money at the end of the round is the winner. And that, in a nutshell, is Monopoly Knockout. Okay, final thoughts on Monopoly Knockout. As always, we go over the cons first, followed by the pros, followed by my final thoughts. The cons, we'll go over now quickly. The warped board in the box is a tragedy. If you're going to do a game involve sliding of pieces and components, you've got to get the board right. It's kind of the initial essential. Unfortunately, this board came out warped, which would have been fine for any other game where you're just moving pieces, but this is a flicking game, and a flicking game needs a flicking level board. It is warped badly, and as we played it more and more, we found that it bends and bows so that it just doesn't work. It needed to be higher quality. That said, the price point is very low, so it's not like I spent $60 on this game. That said, though, the very essence of it needs, like, if you're going to do a game with dexterity components, you've got to get the pieces that you're going to apply that dexterity to be right. In this case, it is a complete fail. So some ways I've mitigated it are, you can buy a glass sheet, for a lot of money, and place it over it, and then you just have to adjust that it's a little smoother. I don't think it has quite the texture that's optimal for this type of game. And there's another way which we'll talk about later. The other thing, and this is specifically sort of the board game industry, but I don't care whether you're Hasbro or you're anyone else, put the designers' names or put the group of designers on the box. Give them some credit. Over and over again, everywhere you go, if you look at a board game in conventional sense that's not just a mainstream ripoff, then put the name of the designers on the game, even if it's just a group or whatever. I know you're Hasbro, I know you're big, I know this is meant to be mainstream, but if the game sucked, I wouldn't even give it a second notice. But because it is, I'd really like to see designers get more credit. That's an aside note. As for the game itself, this does a good job of helping you get that feeling of getting money. The Monopoly, I'm getting money. I'm getting, I got 500. I got free rent, whatever. It doesn't have any, money sinks though. There isn't a way to spend your money, and so it really does take away sort of half of the fun of the whole element of the Monopoly, vibe. And so I think that's a missed opportunity. There's also a reality that when you are the person that starts, if you are first in turn order, you have to make the most of that. You really do. You get this sort of mega turn because you get tiebreakers, which means you get your moment in the sun. It's not really a bad thing. It's just something that you need to keep in mind, that if you're bottom on the totem pole, you will adjust your strategy accordingly. And if you don't know that and you're like, whatever. And again, I'm playing this with a very casual audience. They won't pick up on those subtleties, but I will. But I don't think I would list it as a con. It just seems a little bit awkward to have such a potent turn followed by lesser and lesser turns. But then again, maybe that's not a bad thing for over in general. The other thing is bumping is a confrontational system that will easily lose you some of your friends. It just will. There's also times when you have literally an identical split between two properties. There's no provision for that. Like, which one you're the most... It brings me back to those tabletop, war game, Warhammer ruler fights. 1 millimeter, you're in range. No, I'm not. I'm just like... there really isn't a provision. We've had a house table that one with a variety of different rules to go. If you literally do land exactly halfway, and you'd be surprised how often people will land what is clearly darn near impossible to detect, one side of your token being close, more in property than the adjacent property. Anyway, all right, that's it for the cons. Sorry, guys. Now for the pros. The rolling pieces are really good. They're really solid. The actual tokens you have, they're evocative of the tokens in the game, and they have a nice thematic, just kind of style to them. And the rollers work really well. These are solid. These will last a long time. They won't wear out. It boggles me that the warped board is so opposite in its quality, and the rolling pieces are so well constructed to give a very smooth traversal across. So it feels really good. Feels like a real good shuffleboard kind of vibe. Um, I like that the various specials that you land on match up very strongly with their Monopoly counterparts. The luxury tack, which is annoying, although it plays a bigger part here than it would on the regular Monopoly board because it's a much bigger space. I like the jail being, yeah, I like the risk reward factor here is great. The jail being laid out so that it surrounds the most expensive properties means that you're taking a risk by trying to A, go farther on the track, and B, go farther on the track and not wind up in jail, which again, that warped board, if you go straight down the middle, and I've literally, like, it will, because it bends and because of the warping, yeah, it just ruins a lot of it. So, those things go together, and then the properties make sense. The houses are kind of weakly represented here. There's not a lot, and it's just like you land on it and something else gets double, whatever. The chance works great. Like, hey, everybody takes their turn, and then you get one more chance to go do something cool with it. The free parking, everything fits. Everything fits really well. I could be like, yeah, I could see why they set that up the way they did. And the other thing is bumping will lose you some friends you probably didn't need anyway. So yeah, rock on with that. I like those combos. I like the retries. Jail is odd because it's not as, in the later rounds, it's really not as bad as you think, because you can just pay your way out of jail and try again. So as long as you're willing to keep amping up and paying money, you can keep going to jail, coming out. It's almost better to land in jail, get out and try again, than it is to take a risk in other ways. So, interesting. So final thoughts on Monopoly Knockout. I solved okay, first off, let's go. I didn't like Monopoly. I despised Monopoly long before it became fashionable to despise Monopoly. I don't like the game. I never did. Growing up, I felt like the first 10 to 15 minutes was really the only part of the game that I ever cared about. You swoop up, you buy the properties, you get to the point where you can, and then it just gets into the bocage and you're just getting drugged down. I never liked it. I never liked the fact that it just kept getting I think over the years, always getting Monopoly, Sasquatch edition, Monopoly, Pickle edition, latest Monopoly Costco store edition. I'm just out of that. That said, just because I don't like Monopoly doesn't mean I don't like Monopoly themed games. I actually find some of them really cool, which is weird because, for example, I love coffee. I absolutely love coffee. Viva la coffee. But I don't like coffee flavored stuff. Coffee flavored candies, coffee flavored, wort cream, nothing like that. On the other hand, I hate root beer with a passion, and yet I like root beer flavored candies. So that's weird. It's just because I don't like Monopoly doesn't mean I don't like a lot of the themes. One of the great card games in the past is Monopoly Deal, which if you have a chance to get, I think you should pick it up. It's usually like $5. I have run 40 to 50 person Monopoly Deal tournaments and had great success. It was one of the funnest experiences I remember. So that said, I think that Monopoly Knockout, other than the quality of the board itself, is awesome. I think it really is. It's awesome enough that I blinged out the board. What I did was I got a hardwood floor and I slapped it on the back and glued it down. I have 2 copies. I should have shown you that. Maybe I'll show you the blinged up one someday. And slapped it down so that it stays really, really flat. I decided the glass sheet just doesn't work as well as this. And then mounted it on I'm going to have to show you this picture. Mounted it on the wall. And then I have a little tray for the pieces because there's not a lot of pieces to it. So when we take it down now and play it with friends, which we've done last weekend, it's actually it's good. It solves the big problem. You get a nice flat surface, but it is a blast. I love it. Enough that we've actually started doing house rules to try to build up on it. For example, we were trying some different things, like whoever's in last turn order, where I'm creating some boost tiles like Res Arcana. We're like, hey, like you can get a little boost here. I've actually started putting in like actual blocks where we would block off certain properties, or let you, one of the specials to block off a property and add some actual terrain obstructions. That's how cool that I like that. We went for grabbing money. We're trying a house rule now. All of these are experimental. We're going to try putting the money on a tile, and instead being able to let you put a small cube like I had there on it, so that anyone who lands there in the future, you get half of, or rounded up of it. In that way you can go, okay, well, here's my another risk reward factor. Instead of grabbing my money now early in the round, I'm going to set my cube, there, and we do allow, you can hit the cubes, but you put them back. But I mean, we're a lot of these stuff, we're experimenting with turn order issues and stuff too. I mean, the thing is, like, I wouldn't bother if the game was crap, like Phlegm Monopoly edition, Monopoly Phlegm edition and stuff. But the fact that this game is so cool, it's very familiar. So instead, I mean, this could have been anything. This could have been Lord of the Finger Foods, fantastic, crokinole flicking game. But because they tapped it to Monopoly, not as specifically a cash grab, but as an actual way of re-envisioning Monopoly with a cool dexterity element, you can bring people in. They know the properties by heart. They can get this game. It takes 5 seconds for them to understand what's going to happen, and then everything else just falls into place. It could have been anything, but because they did that, they made this a very approachable game. With it's basically bumper cars Monopoly. And it's really, really cool for the price point. I think I paid $20 for it, and so it was worth it to me to bling it out. I do, maybe it won't bother you as much. I mean, the board is what it is, and you might get a board maybe in your climate. Although if it was a climate thing, I probably would have known 2,000 games ago. But I think that you can find. I mean, you could always just look and go, this is the way the board is. Sort of like when you're bowling. Like if you're a bowler, you always, eventually you have to get used to the lanes. Everywhere you go, the lanes are oiled differently, and you just got to compensate for it. You'll have, you might be just go like, this is how we're going to have to do it. You might not want to bling it out like I did, but maybe you will. So you would think on a channel that deals with deep, dark board games and, heavy hex and counter games, that a game like this wouldn't even get on my radar. But for some reason, I was drawn to it simply because it was cheap and free shipping. And when I found out that it was really a solid quality game in a solid quality vein of games, that it knocked my socks off. I couldn't help but do a review of it. So I recommend it for people. I really do. I think it's an awesome game. I solved the board problems. You can too, or you can just live with them and rock on. Either way, it's a solid game for a solid price point, and one of the more fun party games you're going to bring out this year. So there you go. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.